What's going on, team? Hope everybody's having a great start to the week. Hope everybody had a great last week trading. Lots of opportunities that we've been discussing have been playing out very well. So I'm excited to share with you guys the opportunities that I'm watching this week and the stocks that you guys should add to your watch lists for this week as well. I'm going to also throw in a little golden nugget. NFTs have been a very hot topic as of late. So if you guys stick through this video, at some point in this video, I will share one of the NFT plays that I'm looking at that I think has huge potential. So stick around and you guys might catch, what that stock is. Not to mention, with the stocks and the opportunities that are being presented this week, there's definitely some great opportunities and some very significant plays that you guys should definitely note, add to your watch list, and definitely pay attention to throughout this week and the next 2 weeks, possibly. So let's just jump right into it. First things first, we're going to take a look at the SPY. So that is the S&P 500. So we've been trading in this ascending channel for some time now, and obviously we ended up with this market sell-off that happened. We ended up bouncing off of this support that we've been holding ever since November, and we did end up breaking the SMA, and we are starting to head up to the upside. So that is definitely a good sign if we're taking a look at the SPY. If we're going to take a look at the Nasdaq, which is /NQ, we did end up pulling back fairly significantly. We broke the SMA. We ended up finding support here at 126.58. Then we ended up breaking that and went all the way down to 12.290. Then we ended up coming right back up. We did approach this SMA. We have been having a hard time breaking through this SMA line, and we are approaching it here again. So, definitely something to pay attention to. We have, like I said, been struggling to break through this line. So with this approach coming back up to this line, we have a historic pattern happening here. Not saying that that's what's going to happen this time around, but definitely be prepared. It's better to be prepared than to be surprised, right? So, on the bright side, we have been holding this 12.63.7 level. We held it back in February, and then we held it in the mid-March, and then we held it again just recently towards the end of March as well. So, this level is definitely coming down. We're paying attention to it this way. We are definitely creating, a triangle here. So we're going to have to break out to one direction or the other. So definitely something to be watching at this point. In my opinion, it is coming to a critical point. So definitely be paying attention to this to see, if we break up to the upside or to the downside, and then that's going to really help you identify what's going to be happening with these other stocks that we're going to be taking a look at. So let's just jump right into all the opportunities that we are seeing this week. So the first one is going to be CODX. So this one had a very, very significant pullback here. Let's go ahead and whip out the measuring tool. We ended up pulling back about 43%, which is huge. We did end up at this support level that we ended up establishing back in beginning of September of last year. So we have approached it, throughout, December. We've approached this level. We didn't exactly touch it, but we did approach it. So we are touching this level at this point now. So it's a matter of, are we going to hold this level or are we going to bounce off this level? And if we do bounce, there's great potential for us to head back up and, trade between this channel that we've been trading between, since basically September all the way through now. So even from current price points to, the top of the level that we have been trading where we found resistance, it's about a 78% profit potential. Not saying that it's, something to buy into just yet. We do want to see confirmation consolidation, which we haven't seen yet. We've just been seeing, a falling knife. So don't jump into it just yet, but definitely a huge opportunity if this does end up bouncing. at this level. So the next one we're going to take a look at is going to be Dkng. This one we've been seeing, consistent a consistent uptrend that we've, been having for some time now. Pretty much since, beginning of November, we've been holding this uptrend, and that somewhat correlates with the SMA line. We did end up pulling back a bit, but we did have, some buying happening in after hours. We are in oversold territory if we're looking at the 4-hour frequency. So, I can potentially expect, at least somewhat of a recovery, which would be about a 10% recovery. If we recover all the way to previous highs, that's about 27%. I see potential in this one for sure. And this is fairly close to the support level as well. And like I said, we have been holding this SMA fairly well. We have been dipping down a little bit below it. However, we've always made our way back up. So definitely one to be paying attention to. And let's just jump right into the next one. GoPro GPRO. This one we've been seeing, we saw a huge pullback here. We ended up actually discussing it when it did pull back to this point. And this was a great buy opportunity. And this ended up giving you a 78% return. If you would have, paid attention to the videos from some of the weeks before, I think it was about a week or two ago that we talked about GoPro when it pulled back. And we saw this nice pullback on the MACD. We were talking about this being a great opportunity. Similar, we saw a fairly healthy pullback happening here. We found support at this level. We did make our way back up to the EMA, and then we ended up getting rejected. Now we came back down and we're approaching the support level once again. But even if we do end up bouncing at this point, creating a double bottom, we're going to see, a return of approximately 20%, which is also, fairly significant. This is a fairly consistent, strong company. So, definitely one to be paying attention to. We have plenty of room to run on the RSI. And, if we're really paying attention to the MACD, we could probably give it maybe another day or so, but I would definitely be keeping this one on my radar, and definitely a great opportunity to jump into once we start seeing a reversal to the upside. The next one we're going to take a look at is Zillow. So it's just, the ticker is Z. This one has been selling off. We have been discussing this one for some time now. However, we have been holding this support level that we've been seeing here for some time. Ever since basically December, we've had this support level holding, and we're at this support level once again. We did end up breaking and dipping a little bit below it. However, we are very oversold. So definitely, one that I'm very interested in, and, mostly for the profit potential here. So we're looking at about a 41% profit potential, which is huge, if we recover to previous highs. So definitely something to be paying attention to. I personally do have a starter position going on this one with, the current price levels. In my opinion, I think this is a very good deal on this particular stock, and this is more of a long-term play for me. So definitely going to be watching this one, and I think, it's got a ton of potential in the coming, weeks to months. I think it's going to have a great, healthy recovery. So the next one we're going to be taking a look at is Chgg, which is Chgg. This one's been pulling back, also for some time now. We did end up finding support at this point. We did recover. We did end up actually discussing this one last week, I believe, and the week before, when we saw this dip happening, and then it ended up recovering. So we had a play of about 8% here. And then we ended up discussing it when it dipped down again. It ended up having a play of about 18%. And now we are having a similar dip happening. And, if we recover to previous recent highs, that's, approximately 16% profit potential. So we are at the support level. We are close to being oversold in the very oversold territory, and the MACD is also looking very good. So this one is also one that I'm very interested in. I'm paying attention to this one for sure. That's from this point to recent highs, that's about, a 14-15% profit potential to all-time highs, we're looking at about a 30% profit potential. So definitely one I'm very interested in. So the next one we're going to be taking a look at is going to be LMND. And this one we've been paying attention to, for a while. This whole dip down, we've been watching this one. Once again, we are at this support level, similar to some of the other ones that we've been looking at. This support level we formed back in the beginning of December, and we ended up dipping down to this level. We ended up having a play of approximately 30%. We did run back up to this resistance level that we formed back here. And then we ended up dipping down once again. Now we're at this support level once again. If we're paying attention to the volume profile, we have significant volume here. So if we do end up holding the support, I can see and expect approximately 30% ride back up to that previous resistance, if not highs of, 188, which was, a 54% profit potential here. So, definitely the first level I'd be watching would be the 111 level, 112, where it got rejected previously. And then if we do end up breaking that and breaking the SMA, then you can expect higher highs. But as of right now, definitely paying attention for this one for a play of, about that 30% range back up to 111, 112. The next one we're going to be taking a look at is UAA. This one, we've been consistently holding this SMA line. We ended up pulling back here, found support on the SMA, ran back up, came back down, found support on the SMA. We are fairly oversold, and we haven't quite yet seen a reversal on UAA, but this is definitely the one that I'm going to be paying attention to, especially with this volume profile showing significant volume up here. If we hold this SMA level, just like we held back here, from current price points to previous highs, we're looking at about 13%. That's not bad. And that's Under Armour, strong company. It's been around for a while. Pretty sure it's not going to be going anywhere. It's definitely one that I am interested in paying attention to. The next one is going to be CVNA. This is Carvana. This one we have been finding support at 237, which is approximately where we're at right now. We're about at 248. We have a little bit more of a downside. However, we are oversold, and we are starting to, start forming a potential reversal. And if we're following, historic patterns, we're seeing that every time it came down to this level, we ended up bouncing, came down, bounced, came down, bounced, came down, bounced. And now we're coming back down, and I'm expecting a bounce here. We're preparing. Doesn't mean it has to bounce. However, if it does bounce, I'm going to be ready, and I want you guys to be ready as well. So this one, from current price points to previous highs, or usually where it gets rejected, that's about a 23% profit potential. So definitely a great opportunity to be paying attention to right here. The next one is PLTR. This one we have been selling off for some time now. This one, once again, this is one that I'm paying attention to mostly for the profit potential that is, presenting itself. So we've had this support level ever since basically end of November. Came down to this level, bounced, which is, the 2236 level. Came down here, bounced, traded, came down, bounced, traded up along the SMA line for some time. We ended up popping up to 45, came back down, broke the SMA here, and came back down back to this level. We ended up bouncing here, came back up, bounced here again, came back up, came back down, now to the same very level that we're at right now. And we are fairly close to being oversold. However, I think there might be a bit more downside here, but definitely one to be paying attention to, because once we do see a bounce that we've been seeing historically, if we do see this bounce, from current price points to, the previous levels that it has usually been getting rejected at, we're looking at about 26%. If we do see this run back up to 45, or even, 38, that's about 43%. 45 would be 50%. So definitely one to be paying attention to for sure. The next one that I'm going to be taking a look at is going to be SKLZ. So this one has been selling off quite a bit. This one has been holding the SMA line for pretty much since October. You know, September, October. We've been holding this SMA line this entire time. Ended up coming back up, bounced, came back, bounced, came back up, made higher highs, went all the way to 46, came down to the SMA line once again, bounced, came back up, bounced, came back up, and then we finally ended up breaking it. And since then, we've been making, you know, this cup and handle pattern that we're starting to see. And we did make, you know, significant lows here where we were very, very oversold. And now we are looking like we're going into a potential reversal. So from current price points to the SMA line where we previously got rejected, we're looking at about 38%. If we're looking to, you know, the next level that we were at, we got rejected, that's about, you know, 46%. And if we look all the way to 46, that's about a 58% profit potential. So currently we're approximately at the levels that we were at back in November, December. So we basically have wiped out all of the profits that we've made over the last, you know, 3 months. So definitely one to, you know, this has definitely become a very good deal, and definitely one to pay attention to, especially if we start seeing confirmation once we break this EMA line and this starts heading up to the upside. We have huge potential here. You know, 40%. That's what I'd be looking at. Where, you know, we probably get rejected if we do get rejected. So, you know, that's still fairly significant in my opinion. So the next one that I'm going to be taking a look at, and I think you guys should add to your watch list, is ROAD, ROAD. This one, we ended up breaking the EMA line. This is why it caught my eye. Once again, we've been holding about this SMA line for, you know, since basically November. No, not even November, September. We've been holding above it, making higher highs, came up to 36. Then we had this pullback happening, and we are still fairly close to this SMA line. So with this, you know, confirmation and this hold above this EMA line, and, you know, we are at 50, just above 50 on the RSI. So we are in a bullish trend on this one. And, you know, with the confirmation, this one does look a bit promising. We also, you know, have seen this reversal take place on the MACD. So from current price points to recent highs, we're looking at about 16%. So this is definitely one that I'm very interested in, one to be paying attention to for sure. The next one is FSLY. Huge sell-off that we saw coming down from the 118 level all the way down to the 63 level. We made a bit of a recovery. We got rejected at this level here, and then we ended up coming back down to this, you know, support level that we've been holding. We did consolidate for a bit. So this one I am expecting, you know, with the RSI looking the way it's looking and the MACD starting to cross, we are starting to see a potential for a reversal, at least to the recent highs that we saw, which would have been a, you know, this one would be about 16%. But if we're looking to, you know, the most recent highs that we saw back here, we're looking at about 45%, which is huge. So this one is, you know, a very interesting company to be paying attention to. We are also seeing, you know, significant, you know, volume on this volume profile up here. So I wouldn't be surprised if this thing came back up at least to this SMA line, which is about a 23% profit potential. You know, and that's very good. So the next one that we're going to be taking a look at is going to be Square, SQ. This one pulling back once again to the support level that we saw down here. And with the RSI looking the way it's looking, we were in oversold territory and we are starting to head back up to the upside. MACD, we did end up crossing and we are forming a bit of a hold here. So if we do break above this EMA line, definitely first level I'm expecting is to be at the at this SMA line, which is about 12%. If we look to previous highs, we're looking at about 25%. And Square, this company I think has a lot of potential. So this is one definitely to be paying attention to over a longer period of time. So at these price points, in my opinion, this is a very good deal. And since we've been holding this support level, I think this level is a decent level to be considering, either a starter position or taking a look at, if this is something that you want to be investing in. The next one is going to be ARK, and this is an ETF. This one has been pulling back along, with the market that's been pulling back recently. We did find support here. We ended up making highs, recovering a bit, and then we ended up pulling back to the support level. We've been a bit, consolidating a bit, and we are starting to look like we're making a cross here on the MACD. And so if we're looking from current price points to recent highs, that's about 14% profit potential. And then if we're looking to all-time highs, that's about a 30% profit potential. So definitely one to be paying attention to for sure. This one had a strong, stable hold above this SMA line, basically since, beginning of September. And we've just been treading along, this SMA line until, we had this little market pullback that we've been seeing. And I think it's starting to level out a little bit. So now that we found support here, we're consolidating here. We didn't just blow through this support level. I am paying attention to this one for a potential reversal back to the upside. And I think this one has, huge potential. If you're really investing into this one, this might take a little bit longer to play out, maybe, a week or two or three, maybe a month. But, if you can pull in, 30% in a month, just by investing at a great price, why would you not, right? So something to consider for sure. The next one is Nnox. This one's been pulling back. We did end up breaking through the support level. However, what's catching my eye here is we were oversold here at this point. We are consolidating, and we are starting to form a bit of a reversal here on the MACD. So I see, potential to at least come back up, which would be about 20% profit potential to just this recent high that we were at recently. If we're looking all the way back to, the 95 level, we're looking at about 56%, which is huge, in my opinion. Definitely one to be considering for sure. The next one that I'm taking a look at is going to be DBX. This is going to be more of a longer term play. And with this recent pullback that we saw from the 28.85 level to the support level that we are at right now, I see, even if we're just trading this play right here back to the 28 level, that's about a 9-10% profit potential. But long term, Dropbox, in my opinion, I think it has huge potential. So this one is something that I'm paying attention to for this 10% play for sure. And then we'll see kind of where things go after that, in the longer term. The next one is going to be Discovery, DISCA. And this one is a gem. So what we saw here is we saw a massive pullback. We saw a pullback of about 50%. So what happened here is they ended up, I believe it was, the banks themselves were selling off major positions. And this is essentially what caused this huge pullback. And if we're looking, we're very oversold on the RSI. We are starting to form a bit of a reversal here, potential reversal here on the MACD. So if we're even going to play this to, say the SMA level, that's about a 35% play. If we do end up recovering all the way back to where we were, that's almost 100%. That's 91%, which is a massive opportunity. And if we're looking at, historic patterns, we've been holding above this SMA level pretty much this entire time consistently. This has been a very consistent, steady growing stock. And then we saw this huge drop. So if we break even above, this SMA line, we're looking at about, 28%, 30%. But if we end up recovering to, at least, close to the recent highs, that's about 40%. And if we're looking at, all-time highs, that's about a 47%. Sorry, not a 91%. I don't know how that was measuring that. But let's check. Yeah, there we go. That's a weird measurement. I don't know why it's measuring this way. But 47%, 50%, I mean, still, that's huge for your portfolio and for your account to grow by 50%. So this one's a huge one that I'm paying attention to. The next one is MGM. This one we've been holding above this SMA line. We've been finding support at this SMA level. Here, we've been holding the SMA level, and now we're at this SMA level again. We are starting to look like we're heading to the upside on the RSI and the MACD as well. So this is one to definitely pay attention to. We're looking at about 12% profit potential here. Great company to be, paying attention to for sure. The next one is going to be Peloton, P-T-O-N. And that is Peloton. So this one ended up selling off along with the market, obviously. But if we're looking at this one, we're seeing, this one is once again a play based on potential, right? So we're looking at about 38%. And currently we're at price levels where we were back in November, back in, September. So in my opinion, this is, this pullback gave it, a great opportunity and a great deal for, investors to be potentially jumping into this stock if it makes sense to them. We dropped to, this level about 100. We've been consolidating at this level for some time now. So, if we do end up pushing higher, the first level of resistance is going to be, the 123 level, which is the SMA level. And then if we end up breaking that, we do have that potential back to the upside to previous highs. But definitely keep up with the fundamentals of what's going on with this company. 36%, that's the profit potential here. The next one that we're going to be paying attention to is going to be Tesla. This one really comes down to, what you're comfortable with, right? And do you see value of this company at this price point? We were at 900 just in January. We ended up pulling back with the market pulling back. The NASDAQ's been pulling back. And don't forget, what we saw on the NASDAQ, that level of resistance that we keep getting rejected at this SMA level. So if we do get rejected here again, then, with Tesla, I would expect, Tesla to continue to sell off. If we do end up breaking it, however, we can potentially start seeing, an upside back to the SMA. We're looking about 15%. If we're looking at all-time highs, we're looking at about 31%. So it's a matter of, your preference and, how you want to approach Tesla and what you think Tesla is worth. And if it's, do you see value in Tesla at, $600? Is that a price that sounds fair to you? Does that sound like a good deal to you? Based on, the technicals, we have been having support at this level, maybe even at, 541. So definitely paying attention to here. RSI, we are fairly close to being oversold. However, we are potentially forming a reversal on the MACD. So just some things to consider. I would definitely keep up with the fundamentals, keep up with the NASDAQ, and kind of see where that all fits in. And if it's a play that you want to jump into, if you see value in this company at this price point. The next one that we're going to be paying attention to is Riot. This one really depends on, how Bitcoin continues. We have been holding this SMA line, fairly consistently throughout this entire time. We did break a little bit below it here, but, it really depends what happens with Bitcoin. We do have earnings coming up here on the 30th. So we'll see how that plays out. Personally, I suggest, and the way I do it is I play earnings after the fact. I see what happens, and then I play on the reaction side. So that's what I would suggest doing. That's just how I do it. But, to each their own, whatever you're comfortable with, right? And, if you're a strong believer into Bitcoin, or if you're holding Bitcoin or whatever, play it the way you see it. And the way you see, the way you can put value onto this stock. In my opinion, I'm personally going to wait through earnings and then I'll play the reaction. However, that's kind of the situation here. MACD, we do have potential to run, but we do, have potential to drop as well. And we are at 44, which is still technically bearish. So we'll see kind of what happens. And we are also below the SMA, and we are even below the EMA. So, with earnings coming up and all of those factors in play, not something I want to be jumping into just yet. I want to kind of see what happens and then, play on the reaction side. The next one is going to be XOM. So this one is Exxon Mobil. We've been holding above this SMA basically since November, and we are at this SMA level once again. We talked about this pullback here last week, I believe, when it was pulling back, and this support level that we found on this SMA level. Definitely one that I'm very interested in. And we are at 57 on the RSI. So we are bullish, and we do still have some room to run on the MACD, in my opinion. And, based on historic patterns, if we're continuing to hold above this EMA and we return to previous highs, we're looking at about a 7% profit potential, 7-8%, which is not bad. So I'm going to go ahead and give you guys that gem that I promised you guys with the NFT play. So the stock that I'm looking at is CWRK. And this is an OTC play. We did end up pulling back. We've been watching this one, and the members in the academy have known about this basically since like 50, I think it was like 55 cents is when we started talking about this one. So we saw huge gains all the way. We saw over 555% gains on this one just within the community and the academy. So at this point, we did end up pulling back all the way down to the support level of about $2. And now we're starting to make a reversal back to the upside. We are testing this EMA level. So if we do end up breaking this EMA, I can potentially see a return back up to, recent highs, which is about another 33% gain. So definitely one to be paying attention to. And if you're keeping up with NFTs, then you can kind of, gauge the way you should be playing this from a fundamental standpoint. From a technical standpoint, we've just been playing it based on the RSI and the MACD, and that seems to be working out very well. We saw this run up, saw this resistance here, pulled back. We ended up picking up more here at this level, approximately 53, 56 cents. And then we ended up running all the way up to the $2 mark. We ended up pulling back to about $1, I think it was. And then since the dollar, we ended up pulling all the way back to 3.7. And then we ended up pulling back to the $2 mark again. And now we're starting to make a reversal once again. So this is the gem that I was talking about, the NFT play. Like I said, since we've started talking about it, this thing has made 500% profit. So, definitely a huge opportunity here with the NFTs. And if you guys want to know a little bit more about the community and the academy, throw down a comment below, or contact me through Instagram. I'll link my Instagram below as well. And smash a thumbs up button, show some love for this gain here that we saw of about 500%. It's huge, right? So the next one we're going to jump into is going to be A1. This one, this is more of a longer term play. We did end up pulling back here, and we are starting to see a reversal at this point. So from current price points to the recent highs, we're looking at about 24%. However, if we hold this one for a longer time, I can see this thing going way above $15, but that's in my opinion. If we're just playing it in the short term, we're looking about 20%, which isn't bad whatsoever. RSI is looking good. MACD is looking good as well. The last couple that we're going to take a look at is going to be Nvda. This one, we've seen a nice pullback here, back to this support level that we've been seeing since basically September. We pulled back, we ended up bouncing. Now we are consolidating around this resistance level that we've been having. And then if we do end up playing back up to the upside, which kind of look like we're at 54 on the RSI, which is bullish. And we are looking like we just went into a reversal here on the MACD. So from current price points to recent highs, we're looking about 19%. Not a bad profit potential. And Nvda, great company. It's going to be around for a while. It's been around for a while. Strong, consistent company. The next one is going to be Race. We've talked about this one for some time now. And ever since, we caught this dip here, we've been talking about it. And if you did jump into it, you would be at about 10% profit potential. We are at this SMA line. So we'll see if we break this SMA line. If we do, from current, prices to recent highs, we're looking about 12%, which is great. And this company's Ferrari. This is more of just a personal play that's very interesting to me. The next one is going to be Ba. This is once again a longer term play at this price level and at this price point. I think that this is a fairly great deal. So this is definitely one that I'm paying attention to. And if we're looking from current price points to recent all-time highs, we're looking about 27%. In my opinion, at these price levels, you're getting a fairly good deal for this company. So this is why I'm paying attention to this one. We've been, playing these plays that, dipped down, came back up right here on this dipped down. We did end up catching this play here, and we've been kind of letting it, consolidate and see where it's going to head out since then. Definitely one that I'm very interested in long term. At this, like I said, at this price point, I think it's a deal. So I'd be definitely paying attention to this one and adding this one to your watch list. The next one is going to be Boeing Ba. So this one, in my opinion, is potentially going to start heading back up to this 278 level. That's about a 9% profit potential. We did have, I think it was Southwest that started buying. I think they bought, like over 100 Boeing 737 MAX jets. And, Boeing's kind of been doing very well lately. So in my opinion, we did end up seeing this bounce on the SMA line. We did hold above this EMA line. We have a positive catalyst. We are looking good on the RSI and the MACD. So, I can see this, this, 9% profit potentially playing out in the near future. So definitely one that I'm paying attention to for sure in the short term. And then last but not least, Mara. Once again, this one's been holding on this SMA line historically, and we're currently at this SMA line once again. We'll see. This one's not, my favorite play, but this has definitely got some opportunity, and I just wanted to put this one out for you guys. 22% to all-time highs. Definitely one to be paying attention to, considering, the strong historic pattern that we've been seeing. So just wanted to put that on your guys' radar. So that's pretty much it, guys, for this week. Hope you guys found some value in this. If you guys did end up, finding value in any of these stocks that we've discussed, smash that thumbs up button. If I missed any opportunities that you guys are watching, drop them in the comments below. And if you guys aren't subscribed, make sure to subscribe, guys. We put these videos out weekly, and we show you guys and give you guys the most up-to-date opportunities that we see in the market. And that is something that, I feel like should help you guys quite a bit. We try to discuss it on a technical level as much as we can in the time that we have. I don't want to make these videos too long, but I do want to show you guys the opportunities that are being presented. And if you guys want to be a little bit more involved and work with me on a closer basis, feel free to reach out to me through my Instagram. It's going to be linked down below. And that should be it, guys, for this week. So